Some say it was the one single event that secured her re-election in 1983. Winning the Falklands War was indeed key for Margaret Thatcher, not least because it meant she lived up to her nickname, the Iron Lady. The conflict began on the 2nd of April when Argentine forces invaded the Falkland Islands. In the UK, a political crisis followed. Ministers resigned because of Britain's apparent lack of preparation. But Mrs. Thatcher responded quickly. Within days, she had dispatched 2 aircraft carriers, dozens of warships, and thousands of troops. In the knowledge that these pictures would be broadcast in Argentina, Harrier jump jets and Sea King helicopters were left on the deck of HMS Hermes when they would normally be stored below. As the British ships began their 8,000-mile journey, Argentina swore in their own governor of the Falklands. The Royal Marines based on the islands were too small in number to put up any real resistance, and many were captured.
One always hopes for an early conclusion. One's learned throughout this whole Falklands campaign that things tend to take longer than you expect.
When the British ships finally got there, they set up a 200-mile exclusion zone around the islands. The Prime Minister gave permission for a nuclear sub to sink an Argentine cruiser, and 368 people were killed. Within days, though, the Royal Navy had suffered its own tragedy. HMS Sheffield was hit by an Argentine missile. It didn't explode, but it caused enough damage to completely disable and later sink the ship.
We feel great sympathy for our families, or rather the families of those of our friends on board who lost their lives during the attack.
The battle stepped up towards the end of May when British troops started conducting ground operations. It took them just 3 weeks to reach the capital, and Argentina formally surrendered on the 14th of June. 913 people had lost their lives.
We have ceased to be a nation in retreat.
Victory in the Falklands changed Margaret Thatcher's fortunes. Her popularity went from record lows before the conflict to a landslide election win in 1983. After the war, she dedicated lots of money to rebuilding the Falklands and visited the islands herself to see how her policy was being implemented.
Now let me have a look at that. There we are. Isn't that wonderful?
If one looks at it from the viewpoint of the Falkland Islanders, their loyalty is total. Their loyalty to our way of life, their loyalty to everything for which we stand. And time after time they come up and thank Britain what she's done.
She remained popular with many who had served in the armed forces for the rest of her life. As a war leader, one famous former soldier described her as the best person you could have hoped for.